Welcome to Accounting in Focus.
Hello, this is Jeff Ingram coming to you with another self-hosting with WordPress blog video. And today I want to talk about images. Images are important. If you don't believe me, you should stop this video right now and go do some research on why you should use images with your blog post and promoting your blog posts on social media. For instance, if you don't have images, you'll probably never have a strong presence on Pinterest. However, that aside, let's talk about images and a few tips, because images, where they're great, can also bog down and slow down your blog. If your blog slows down too much, people will not like your blog. They will think it's slow, they will think it's unsophisticated, and they will leave without reading your wonderful words. So let's take it for instance. Let's say you decide to blow your budget and go on a trip to Italy and you wanted to blog about it. So let me bring up this image taken by a hypothetical person of the statue of David. Now I show that, one, for the shock value, but two, this image is very large. And if I come down into my properties, save for web, which is a wonderful thing to know if you have it, you will notice that at 1 megabit a second, this image will take 58 seconds to download. That is way too long. So I want to show you some tips and tricks, and this is optimized. If I actually saved it just normally into a JPEG format, it would be much larger. So the first thing to think of is, well, the internet. So let's pop it up and bring open my basically blank page of my wife's domain. And you'll notice one of the things you'll want to consider is how big do you want the image. So let's say, this area right here is probably about 1,000 pixels across. Your image probably won't be that big because you're going to have words intermingled with it. So let's say I want an image that's 300. The quickest and easiest way to bring the size into proportion is to change the size of your image. Now, everyone might not have Photoshop. However, every Microsoft product comes with a free paint program. You could resize it in there. But you notice part of the reason this one's so big is because the camera these pictures were taken with basically creates large photos. But for the web, that's not necessarily optimal. So let's say I want a 300 width. And you notice how I have constrained proportions checked off here. This will make sure that you don't distort the image when you shrink it. It'll keep the same proportions in place. So with just doing that, the picture looks small here, but that's just the way it looks because of how the pixels were. If I go to actual size, that's a much more respectable size for an image for a blog post. So if I go over to File right now and I just come here, I'll notice that itself took the time down to 2 seconds, which is pretty good. Not anywhere close to where I want it, because that's at 1 megabit a second. That's a fairly fast connection downloading it. However, there are other things that you can do to make these things even smaller. One is knowing a little bit about the way images are stored. You notice you have all of this color detail showing over here. When an image is stored, it is stored with a bunch of information. It has every color you see here and its position on the picture, and it keeps track of all the colors you don't use. And those are things that help make image sizes larger. Another thing is PNGs are made more for non-photographs. That's probably the best way to put it. Non-photographs I typically put into PNG format. I use JPEG for formatted pictures. That itself will help make it a little bit smaller, but not necessarily. Then there's some other things that you can do too. You can come over, you can make it a progressive scan, and all these things won't necessarily have huge effect. Probably the biggest one that will have an effect will be up here with quality. So usually, if you have a high image, if you take it down to 90%, we'll cut off a good bit of time usually. So that'll make it a very high quality. It will download it will decrease the size of your image. You can go all the way to low, and essentially what you just kind of want to do is just eyeball it, and say, hey, that still looks good to me at this size. And once you're done, you can save your image. I'm going to save this right to my desktop to make it easy going on. I will call it left. Now, if we go to WordPress, we are not yet done. I'm not going to save this. I don't want to keep any changes to my original photograph there, because at some point, I might actually want to use that. So let's go back into WordPress, and let's talk about plugins. There's a very useful plugin that I like to use for images. It is called WordPress Smush.it. No, sorry. Did a quick search for it earlier. I will install now. And I will activate, and this will stay part of this site. And the nice thing about Smush.it is Smush.it will actually help make your picture even smaller. It will get rid of all unrelevant data that is being stored inside of it. So, one, if you have a lot of photographs, you can bulk smush it. Or if you just go to Add New, and this is where you could add any kind of picture. You could add, if you want documents that people can download, or videos, I guess you could put here. I would suggest YouTube for that. But if you wanted to upload, basically anything that you want here is fine. And now you notice, if I go to edit, this will sort of show, okay, this is now the picture, the actual size. You can add a caption, and that's up to you whether or not. A lot of times, depending on the way your format is, it'll put it underneath, sometimes with a frame or not a frame. That would depend on your particular theme. Alternative text is something people often forget is essential. Alternative text helps people understand what is there if they can't see it. So let's say a person is blind, also uses the web. They use text-only browsers, and alternative text will show up for them. So I'll say picture of David in Florence, Italy. And if you want a description of your photograph, because one of the things that you can do is if people click on your images, is they'll come to this little edit page. I usually link my images directly to the image, so I don't typically use this description, but I still always use alternative text. Update. You notice the size is now down to 13 kilobytes. That's what smushing does. So even though the image I created over here is web optimized, already down to 13. So Smush.it doesn't do anything. But let's take another example, and we'll take the other David, and we'll see what happens if I bring him across. Our big David here. This one, just so you believe me, when I start up, is 2.91 megabytes. A fairly large image. Bring this one across. You notice it takes a lot longer for this to happen. And that's because it is a giant file which I should not be uploading, and I will probably delete after we're done. If I bring this one up here, you notice that its file size is still basically the same size, but it's a little bit smaller. The problem is, once again, with this one, it's such a large file that you're going to get a lot of images. But the big takeaway, if you can remember, smush it. Helps make your photographs a little bit smaller. Your websites will load a little bit faster. It will make your website happy. And I'll be back with some more plugins that bloggers might not think about, some ideas to keep in mind. And maybe after that, we'll start getting a little bit more advanced, showing tools on how to create your own themes in WordPress without knowing code, or at least much code. And we'll also do some more plugins that are going to talk a little bit about how to improve your user experience in WordPress, especially if you're not a native coder. I hope you enjoy this. I hope you will comment. I hope you will share. I will hope you will ask questions. If there's anything that you guys are looking for, let me know and I will throw up a quick video when I get the chance. I hope you have a great day, and please like, share, and forward this on to all your friends who self-host WordPress or should self-host WordPress.